All right, welcome, creative artists. We are live from Finland. As you can tell, I'm in my hotel room up here in Helsinki and still excited to be able to talk about this. Today, we're going to be talking about the meetup I went to in London and all of the things that I've been learning about vlogging and travel vlogging through this experience I've been doing the past like 2.5 weeks. Now, the first thing was the YouTuber meetup. We talked about this before that back in January, joined this part-time YouTuber academy. And I think I even recommended to Ryan, they have a basics called the part-time YouTuber fundamentals. And that it's like $1, and that was super impressive. And we had you take a look at that for a little bit. That got me unstuck on so many things. It's like there's all these for making a piece of content, there's so many things that are required for it, and it's kind of like you need to have a certain minimum level of skill on each one of these things. And I was miles away from meeting any of those marks to be able to do anything. So I couldn't make small pots, I couldn't get small practice, so I couldn't start growing and get better. The fundamentals really explained it's actually a lot lower. And if you understand, you couldn't guess it. Like I couldn't do it then, but they showed like, okay, you can do it like at a 3 out of 10 instead of needing a 6 out of 10. And that kind of got the balls rolling a lot. And then I went ahead and did um, the big course, and I got a ton out of that. And I think you've noticed, Ryan, I have unconsistently, but I've been making some stuff. There was like that St. Patrick's Day video.
Still so proud of your train tracks one as well.
Yeah, like this isn't Shakespeare, but like I'm glad to actually be making stuff. And better way to put it, I feel that forward progress now, and that feels good.
That's great, man. And I mean, even just the short videos I've seen you do in Finland, the quick Finland facts are so fun to watch. I'm really glad to see those popping up on my feed.
I'm enjoying this. That's kind of the special thing. I'm enjoying this. Um, so really big coincidence is I agonized forever about the last details of the plan and where should I go and everything because I don't want to waste this opportunity. But literally 12 hours after I booked my plane, the part-time YouTuber Academy announced that they were having like their annual meetup the day that I was going to be in London. Um, I don't even have any interest in England on this trip, but I needed a place to kind of, you have to change planes to get all the way to Finland. I figure if I do that, might as well just make it into a long layover and get rid of all my jet lag before I get to my final destination. So I was like, this is perfect. Are you kidding me? Like, this could not be more destiny. And forgive me if I haven't been talking about this, but I feel really strongly that the next wall that I'm running up against, and maybe you as well, is the wall of talking to people, having mentors or just um, like collaborators, like peers to bounce ideas off or work from. Having your audience start to give you feedback and react, even if it's negative, just anything like that. If you're doing the like digital marketing angle that we talk about, like you have to have the comfort of cold calling people, direct messaging people. And it kind of gets to the next step is talking to people. And if you're anything like me, like that has been a major barrier in many parts of life. Like it's if you're shy or an introvert, that's scary. That's scary as hell, man. And
Oh,
that's
it's
not
so
something you can get
intimidating the
over.
first probably dozen times, and then you realize you get onto almost a flow of, oh, this is how I can approach someone and they're not going to be thrown off. This is how I can start a
Mm.
conversation. Once you've got some times under your belt, it's pretty easy and you can go up to someone with very little of a plan.
Yeah, after you've mastered it, it doesn't take much. But in the beginning, yeah, it's scary.
Oh,
It
it's
feels like it actually does have consequences if you screw it up. Like when you make the small pot, like if I make a bad video, like I don't have to put it out. But like you have a bad conversation with someone else, that feels cruddy.
it does, and I don't know if it was just my own ego, but the first time I was one of the first jobs I ever had was working retail at a Home Depot and being expected just to walk up to customers saying, "Hey, finding everything all right? Is there something
Mm.
I can help you with? Even as just a 16-year-old kid who knows nothing about how to build a deck or anything, I'm going to ask them if they need help. Yeah,
Oh,
okay.
dude.
Yeah, yes, the first few times it was very intimidating. And by the end of the first day, it was kind of numb to it because it was just, oh, yeah, they're not looking for much. They're not, most of the time, they aren't looking for guidance. And if they are, it's normally a sign that they're in over their head, and you can just tell them that.
Hmm.
That Home Depot is one of the few stores where the customer is not always right, because if they don't get told they're doing something wrong, they can very easily have things go very wrong.
That's an interesting point. Yeah.
So it was such an interesting lesson to have to be forced into as a young kid. And now it's one of those things where, yeah, I'll walk up to someone, hey, how's your day going? Great. I just wanted to say,
Hmm.
I recognize your shirt. That's a Pine House Pizza shirt. You've been to Austin, Texas, haven't you? You used to live down there? What part? Okay, yeah, I go down there all the time. Love, like, Pine House in there all the time for pizza. Every time I go down there, it's one of the first stops after the plane. I'll just strike up a conversation. That's one I literally had the other week with someone at an event.
And there's so much of this cool stuff you're doing right now, like how we met, the content you're creating, all these other new people it's bringing into your life, are a kind of a direct result of you beginning that like early stage of that skill, so you can have a larger stage of that skill now. I'm coming back to this, Ryan. It's getting harder and harder to separate discussing content creation and discussing emotional growth. Like eventually, we're gonna have to learn how to tackle these. We could probably take a special episode entirely just talking about how to become more extroverted or fake extroverted or whatever it means. But that would be a big enchilada to handle today.
Oh yes, that sounds like a whole topic for another day.
So why I'm talking about that is because this meeting was kind of like the first really solid opportunity I had to take action on that. Um, I'm aware that this is the next step I need to take. This was such a perfect opportunity that arose, and it's still a little scary, but I figured I have to do it, and we're gonna make the most of it. So RSVP to it. Uh, the day comes. It's like Friday, downtown London at a like Regent's Park, and I walk in there, and first of all, like I can't even be sure who's it's supposed to be because it's like at this bar and grill. But like, am I just gonna start like walking on tables and see if anyone looks like they like making content? Like it's it's not like the create like not like the owners, not like the teacher Ali Abdal. He's like some kind of multi-million dollar like, famous person now. He's not gonna be there. It's gonna be other random people, faceless people like me. I don't even get in the door and I realize, wait a second, outside in the park there's a group of like 50 people standing around with cameras.
Yep.
It might be them. And already
I
I start
mean,
getting that
I would
feeling.
have just walked into the place with my camera going, all right, I'm here at this part-time YouTuber meetup. I'm not sure if anyone else is here yet, but I will let you guys know. And just that will broadcast to anyone else in the room.
Mm.
Oh, he's one of us. Let's wave him over.
Good, that kind of stuff works. So it's already this feeling of, oh, I love this stuff. It like naturally has that gravity that pulls the right things to you, as long as you're just engaged in it. It rewards you for it. And walk up and I see a group of people. I'm like, okay, I'm going to be the most green, inexperienced of everyone there. This will all be a little bit awkward. Like, what should I do first? And holy crap, Ryan, just like hold on with both hands. I walk in, the first guy I talk to, he's immediately like cracking jokes and telling stories. It's so the stuff that I want to learn. Like this is the right questions and the right answers. And like I'm like, oh my God, yes, this guy knows more about the most important things I care about in life. This is great. I'm gonna learn from somebody so fast. Holy crap, this is a great idea. 5 minutes in the conversation, I realized this was never awkward for a second. This has just been entertaining. This feels like I'm at a paid comedy show. Like I should be charged admission for this. And then it dawns on me, Ryan. Every single person in this meetup, like me, has been formally training how to speak, how to interview people, how to talk. Like everybody here is a freaking natural entertainer. like going to this event, like I've been to so many meetups that I hated that I stopped going to. This, I was just bouncing from person to person, and everybody was a ton of fun. It was a total blast, man.
That's great. Definitely sounds like you found your tribe there.
Man, man, you had a way with words. Like that is a great way to put it.
I may have stolen that from the Whiskey Academy and Corey.
It did feel good. Like I care so much about this stuff, and I put a lot of time, but also a lot of like my heart into it. And like part of why I enjoy this podcast with you so much is it's one of the rare times I get to talk with somebody else who knows about this and cares about this too. Um, and there it felt like, man, yeah, this is my tribe. Like these are my people. Like it went from like the insecurity and shyness to like, oh yeah, I'm one of these people. Like this is what I do. This is what I love. I might not be as far along, but I definitely belong with this group.
That's fantastic. And I think that's kind of what got me into wanting to do this too, was I went to the whiskey school, found my tribe of people down there, and noticed that so many of them were making content. And went,
Hmm.
well, I'm already a part of a tribe with these people already. What's going on with this small group? And why am I not a part of that one too? This looks fun.
Mm-hmm. And it is kind of like the heat-seeking missile thing that the more stuff you do, like the more you start seeing the next step to get exactly what you're going to be. That old saying that like a ship that's not moving can't be steered, but if you're driving the ship, even if it's going the wrong direction, you're going to be able to like figure out the right direction super fast and home in on that. Uh, so getting to like the concrete things that start to benefit from huge leaps forward. Uh, it's going to take me a lot of time to just digest it all. The the first person I talked to immediately, he had a lot of things similar to what I'm trying to do. And having that conversation, it was kind of, this is the kind of stuff that I will need to be doing 6 months from now and 9 months from now. And that's such a huge help to see that. Uh, I talk about a lot, like with YouTube advice, there's so much where it's advice for a channel that I don't want to make. It's person telling you how to get to a place I don't want to go. Like, here's how to get the most followers. Well, the most people on YouTube are 13-year-olds who watch pure entertainment shows, and
Yep.
and that's not what I want to do. And this guy's, yeah, my goal is like education of this super niche, and I'm trying to make it spread more. I'm like, that is a different topic, but the exact thing I want to do. And how much I agonized overall how to write lately was because I need to know how to write for education, not write for a emotional story or a TED talk. And like, man, immediately this guy, he's doing that. I'm kind of getting a rapid roadmap to where I got to go. Then later, I was talking with somebody else, and they're doing the complete opposite of what I want to do. That also super jet fuel for moving forward because I hear them talk and I was like, yeah, this all sounds cool. This sounds like kind of stuff that I would be interested in doing and I should be writing and doing. And then I get halfway through, like, no, I have a better understanding of exactly what I'm doing. This is a different thing. And having it cleared up, the things that I shouldn't be doing, like the geese I shouldn't be chasing, that saves a huge amount of time. And I wouldn't have done that if I hadn't got to meet them and talk to them in person.
Well, I hope you got some contact information because I'd love to have some of them on the show talk about what they're doing, how they're getting there.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to get into this a little bit more. Like, bro, it was just hilarious. So immediately, like, oh, yeah, great. We should like connect. And I'm thinking, oh, okay, well, phone numbers. I don't even know if like your London number is going to work on my phone, blah, blah, blah. I usually use Instagram. And the guy just pulls out my phone and types into his YouTube channel. And I'm like, oh, of course. Like, isn't that the freaking coolest way to like exchange contact info? So I walk out and I got like another, like 7 or so subscribers, but they're all just people who are making their stuff. And I go look for their
Sure.
channels, and that's been fun. So next steps, like, yeah, got people's contact info, had a great time talking with them. The actual like leader of the academy, he was there and got to talk with him and get photos of him, which was great too. But the rest of the weekend, which I thought was going to be like sleeping and getting my body on schedule, jammed packed with meeting with like these people one on one to like follow up and learn more, and then going through their channels. Learning by example has been the best boon of like learning this art, and having those like, we subscribe to each other just so we can see who we are. I would go through their channel. I'm like, okay, what was their oldest video? What's their newest video? Like, what are they doing that I want to do? What are they doing that I don't want to do? What do I like about it? All that kind of stuff. And that, has been like another turbo boost. It's like, freaking like the Apollo program where you get like one booster and then you got like three more. I'm like, holy crap, this is a gift that keeps on giving. Going through their channels to analyze it, um, it's you learn more from somebody who is 12 months ahead of you than somebody who's 5 years ahead of you. So much of this content creation is, we really get down to it, all of this is to make people feel emotions. You know, I guess what we're doing is information and emotion. But for both of them, when it's done really well, it's kind of like a magic trick where it becomes invisible. And like the more skilled you get at this, the more you can actually see the trick while it's happening and learning from it. But
Sure.
me, I've been doing this for like about a year. I've been doing YouTube for 6 months. Somebody who's just a little bit ahead of me, I can see what they're doing. It's not so like, perfected that I can't see the illusion. So I can actually learn from it. And, um, that was super helpful. I'm actually getting more value from looking at these guys than looking at channels where they have like 5 million viewers. For example, you know how much I struggle with the whole thing of, for education, like how much emotion and story do you actually need to have?
Sure.
I was looking through this one guy, Dwayne, cool guy from Miami. Like, there was a lot of Americans there. We were freaking hardcore. There's another story out there. I want to tell you about that too. Holy crap. Um, so it's a different topic, but I was looking at it, and there is that sandwich of, okay, I'm going to teach you a sales technique. Great. He's teaching education. This is a style that I can learn from. And I see the bridge of, here's the thing we're going to talk about in the intro. Here's how you know that I can do it, so it's worth listening to. Here is why this is valuable, and all that kind of stuff, and then getting into the body. And that's like one of the hardest things for me. And watching him, I can see it's done well, but I can still see the individual parts of it, so I can start to analyze. And I've been going back and having some just good discussions with him of, okay, so how come you don't convince people of this part, but you persuade them on this part, and how come you only spend this much time on it? That's like the real question on it. And he works in sales, so he's already really kind of hammered out this question very well. There's certain things where I would get really wordy and say, well, this technique is really important because blah, 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 blah. And if you watch his video, I'm like, he completely skips over it. It's like, oh, you can assume that anyone who saw that title and thumbnail and clicked on it, they're already sold on that part. So you don't need to waste any more time on persuading or discussing the value of that part. But this next step, that part you need to persuade people to like convince them like why you should listen to like the next 5 minutes or so, and that's starting to finally make sense to me.
I like that. That makes a lot of sense. Of you can use the title of the video, the topic of the video, to kind of filter out who your audience is going to be and make the content around that.
It
That
makes more
makes a
sense
lot of sense.
from watching his. I can understand that now because like in sales it makes sense. You have multiple sales meetings. Like first, like, oh, I just cold called you. I'm like, okay, I have to really convince you like step one. And then you like meet in person. Like, well, obviously I convinced you of that. We don't need to repeat that. We're going to talk about persuading on step two. And all of this, it's a nuanced how instead of just like what to do. So you really do have to watch examples and kind of like develop a whole library of knowledge. But this has really been turning out to be a great way to do it. There's another contrasting example with another channel of the guy I'm looking through, and he has super highly polished professor style videos where it's incredibly educational, really organized, really great. But there's absolutely zero emotion at all. There's no connection of like, and this is useful because, and this will change your life this way. It's just, here's a deep philosophical concept, dot, dot, dot. ta-da! And I'm like, oh, that's exactly what I do, Ryan. And it's not till I saw someone do it and somebody do it incredibly better than I do that I'm like, yeah, I feel what's missing now. Like even if I kept on the same path that I currently was on and reached the level that he's like, risen up to, I would still have that missing. So now I have much more awareness. Okay, we're doing the 80/20 on this. This is the next step. This is the bottleneck that I should be working on most of building that in.
I'm glad you found all these great examples, and I'm gonna need you to share some of them with me here because that sounds very interesting and very helpful.
Yeah, I will. I'll show some links, and I would love to continue this conversation with you of back and forth analyzing and discussing. It's in the realm that we're swimming in, and I think we could teach each other from it. And your style is further along the dramatic end of things,
Yes, it is.
and hearing about the differences where you say like, oh, well, I would like to do this. I'm going to take this piece and not that piece, which would be different for me. That'll help me learn as well of going like, yeah, those are choices I should only choose if I'm trying to do the same thing, and I would know to like avoid that if I'm trying to do something else.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't done really educational videos, but even with that, I'd be tempted to try and make it into a story, get that emotional connection, and I can see how that wouldn't always be the best fit.
It's kind of I want to explore this further and find out. My guess right now is it's kind of like you have a trunk of your car and you want to cram as much emotion in as you possibly can. But it's just education, the trunk is smaller. So it's harder to find ways to Tetris style fit it all in. But if you can make it work, it's actually always better. I don't think there's ever been a situation where that's a bad thing. It's just you might be limited of what the possible max you could do without destroying
Sure,
the car.
that makes sense. I'm tempted to play around with it now. We'll
Mm,
see.
please. That's what I'm going to be doing that a bunch too. I am getting slowly better at writing and doing the outlines and like, okay, we have this thing. How could I add more emotion to it? Like, is it, have we really reached the maximum amount of emotion that can be put into this topic? Or do I just need more skill to figure out how to like put the little L piece in a little bit better?
That's a great analogy, though. I really like that.
Mhm. So I think we'll be talking more about that in our next episode. This is like really hot topic for me. So that is the big off of stuff of that. Great experience. If you can find some people in your neighborhood, in your city that has any sort of creator meetup, I recommend going to it. If you can try to start talking to people online or whatever community you find, that's great. But I really think that face to face, even for 15 minutes, is huge. Or even do a Zoom call because there's so many things about this which is a polished, curated thing, and getting the raw, unfiltered person. There's a whole lot more to what they're doing and who they are that they can't record. So try and get that in. I think that'd be good leap forward for everybody. And if you're able to find anything like that for you, Ryan, up in your Minnesota area, I would love to hear the story of how that goes.
I'll definitely keep my eyes open and see if I can find anything like that at some point. Um, and I mean, I think it was just the last time we were talking about how vloggers will say they almost have to use a different personality in their videos than their real one. So getting
Hmm.
to meet with them in real life when they're not on camera, you get access to that real personality. You get to hear the real experience, not just what's going to the camera.
Hmm. All right. So let's move on and talk about what we have done, created, or learned since our last meeting.
Okay, that's gonna be a little embarrassing for me because I put my foot in my mouth last time I was on camera with you and promised I would try my hand at vlogging an event. That did not go well.
Well, anything that happens is progress. What happened? I remember you taking your microphone.
I did. Didn't end up using it because it was a much more like there was probably maybe a dozen of us, and they took us into this small private room and had a tasting led by this one guy. And it was a great experience. Absolutely loved it, but it was a more intimate setting, and I didn't want to break out my microphone and be like, "Yeah, I'm here." It just would. I didn't want to be that guy. So I tried to take some B-roll, and
Mhm.
the one lesson that I really learned from this is if you are going to a distillery and going to be drinking multiple things, because it's me, I didn't just have the 6 samples that were in the flight. I had 2 cocktails, 5 other samples along with it, and who knows what else. Your hands aren't as steady anymore, and half that footage is not going to be usable. Things are not going to be in focus. It's just not going to be good. So instead of having enough for like a 45-second quick film montage and voiceover, I have maybe 15 seconds.
Mhm.
And that's not enough to really put out any thoughts with it.
This is still great stuff, though. Like with the stuff I'm currently doing, so much of it is garbage. But I see that I'm making these mistakes now, so they're getting better. Because, we've been talking a bit about creating through friction, creating during battle conditions. Like, yeah, if you've been drinking, it's going to be a lot harder to make your videos. So you should start practicing making videos while you've been drinking so you can get the
Yep.
level of skill at that needed that, like, okay, I know how to do this. We got this.
Take multiple takes of everything. Because chances are the one you take is not going to turn out when you are inebriated. Just
And
little
that's
lessons like that, which are great
exactly.
to know. But, man, I was so excited that I'd have a short video or something to put out, and I absolutely did not.
This is how I felt for the first 3 months of everything I did with my drone. Like, I'm glad I was there, but man, that was crap. I think I can't use any of this.
Yep. So I'm thinking at some point I'll try and go back, take more actual B-roll and actual footage, try and record myself there. But man, I did so bad.
I am really proud of you for doing that. Like, the switch has flipped in me now, where like I feel that that failures are victories now, because like that's a step of learning. Every single time, like that is moving forward, even if it feels horrible.
One of the shots I'll talk about was I wanted to really get the reflection of the water with the distillery in it, like we had seen in the
Mm,
tour of Ardbeg. And
mm,
first of all, forgot my water bottle, which is already a great start.
mm,
Left it sitting right on the little entryway table, so
mm,
that's.
mm.
But fortunately, it had rained, and I found a little puddle,
Yeah.
and thought I had the shot set up right. And then I noticed, looking back at it later, that instead of the reflection of the building in it, you saw the reflection of me going.
Like the selfie
How,
camera.
how
I relate to this, Ryan. I relate to that.
how did I mess that up so badly?
Same reason I did.
Uh, so yep, lot to learn. Not as easy as Corey makes it look.
This is what I'm talking about. People who are really experienced, like Corey, it's like a magic illusion that looks like it's easy. There's a lot of things going on. There's a photo that I found on the street out here that I want to post, and it's weird because it sounds really feminine, but it's like for this masculine tuxedo store, and it says
Okay.
like greatness is made from 1,000 stitches.
Ooh, I like that.
Everything we Yeah, that applies to this so much. Like, I can't say it enough that everything we're trying to do with content creation has 1,000 or 100,000 little pieces that go into it, and it's overwhelming. Where like I'm experiencing that a ton myself, right? Just remembering all of my gear. That's a long checklist of things to do, which eventually should become a reflex like tying your shoe. But in the beginning, that's 10, 15 things. And then going out, like making my shots. Like I'm switching between photos and video, and I'm switching between the outward cam for B-roll and the inward cam for like the vlog part. And so many times I have the wrong thing where I have like, I took a photo when I needed a video. Like that's 50%. Like,
Yep.
and getting better because I'm making the mistakes. But man, dude, we're in the same boat. And like, we're going to get there. We're going to get across.
We'll get there, but man, I was so excited for that, and I had an absolute blast. It was an amazing time, first of all. Cannot speak highly enough of it. Absolutely
Hmm.
loved it. Um, Next time I see you, I will have to bring you a little sample of I sourced a 10-year-old Irish whiskey
Hell
that
yeah.
won Irish Whiskey of the Year. It is very nice.
You're speaking my language, Ryan.
So, again, can't recommend it highly enough. Great time there, but God. Okay, I need to work on things. I know I need to work on a lot of things now, and the hard part is going to be picking out just one or two that I want to practice and get better at for next time.
That's smart. Like doing one at a time, you seem to accelerate faster than trying to do, you know,
I can broadly say I just need to get better at everything for it, but that's
same.
not very helpful.
Mm. So many times I'm always trying to do, well, I'll just do 10% of everything and that'll add up to a lot. And like, no, just one thing. Well, all right, I got good questions for you then. What is the one thing or the candidates of what you're thinking that you'd focus on next time?
I'm thinking an easy fix that would make it better for next time is getting a little like you have almost like a selfie stick or something, but
Hmm.
get one that has a little gimbal in it so that way it holds the camera steady. That way when I'm
Hmm.
trying to take nice B-roll and panning shots, it's not just looking like there's an earthquake going on because I had a few glasses and was walking while trying to take it. Yeah, that
Hmm.
not smart.
One weird tip that'll give you that you can use until then is if you take your camera, set the frame rate to like 120 or 240, and just go that quick will actually translate into about 5 seconds of footage. But since you move so quickly,
Oh,
it'll be smooth as hell.
I like that. Okay, 120 frame. That makes sense. So it's almost like a high speed video, and then you just slow it down, and it's yeah, that would be better. That would have been a lot better.
It's a little trick that I try to throw in every so often. But yeah, let's talk about gimbals next time as well. Is there any footage that you will be able to show us? I'd love to see anything.
It's mostly good photos. I don't know how I'd be able to share it on here because it's all on my phone, but
Mm, in the future.
I'll look through and see if I can send a good one to you, and maybe you can share it through here. Or I can try and upload it onto my laptop. We'll figure it out.
I'm happy to look at it through your channel or on Instagram or wherever. There is so much you can do with just, we got some photos, okay, with static photo with your recording of your voice behind it, and maybe like the photo pans. There's actually a restaurant I went to here in Helsinki, and their website was just so amazingly using just static photos that were panning or zooming in, but they did it in a skilled way. I was like, wow, this feels like a whole lot's going on without a single second of video at all.
Interesting. I don't know. I always think of I want movement with like B-roll panning across or like walking up, not just zooming in.
Mm. Just come back to the whole 80/20 thing. Like, animated photos is like right here. Like B-roll is a little bit better, but it's not like a double. So if you can get an animated photo,
I suppose.
get the smallest thing that you can do, get it. That's different than not having anything.
You're right. I am aiming too high on that.
Mm. Get those reps. Get those reps.
Keep trying to make small pots, and I don't know. Maybe I'll try and go back there soon and actually take decent B-roll.
Mm.
We'll see.
Well, this is exciting. I'm glad to hear about it. Like, yeah, we started to connect. You did do some stuff. Um, my big stuff since last time is one, I finished editing and published my YouTube video vlog about, the blue collar and white collar culture of Nashville.
Very glad to see that one out.
Feel good about that, you know? There was a lot I had to learn through doing that, but I think the number one thing was just practicing speaking in public, because I think that's going to be the biggest make or break skill for all of this. Like, we talk about the biggest return investments, going from timid to bold and comfortable. I think that's going to be more important than your editing or your B-roll or anything. And you just got to do the reps.
I'm almost tempted to see if I can try and get Ashlyn to come out and hold the camera for me like a little film crew. I feel like that just makes it have an appearance of being more legitimate than
Mm.
just me up there with my phone.
Yeah, yeah, that is definitely something that I'm here solo traveling, and just solo traveling people are like, well, that's weird. Like, okay, you're solo traveling and recording yourself. Like, this is getting triple weird. Um, like back when I was a civil engineer, there'd be times where I would be doing my actual job, inspecting a bridge, and security would start coming and yelling at me like I'm a terrorist. But if there was one other engineer with me, they'd be like, "Oh, well, of course, this is like, what you're supposed to be doing." Um, but I think this is mostly got to toughen up. Like, I, I wonder, like, you might be able to hear it because I'm in a hotel room instead of my home. Like, my voice is still a little bit shy and quiet because I'm trying not to disturb all the people in the building, which makes no sense to me because most people who record are recording out of an apartment, which is just like this. I don't know how they like, "Hi guys, welcome to the channel." This is like, how do they do
Yeah,
that? Because
I
eventually,
I don't get it either.
like, we will be less cringy because we're trying to do stuff. But, like, there's going to be a good story you'll be telling. And then they opened the casket inside, and like, you're not going to be whispering. You got to be full volume. And I'm still learning how to do this. Kind of like just shortcutting. The last video I did, um, I started doing some vlogging in Helsinki. We'll talk about that next. But the last one, when I was talking from the cruise ship about the sunset, that was the first time I feel like in public I actually recorded my natural voice. Like, I was pretty happy with that.
That is an achievement, absolutely, and one I've yet to hit either. So I need to try and follow in your footsteps there.
I think it's going to be a lot of desensitization. Just get doing it. Um, like, if you want to talk about that, like, because it's on our list, we just skip to that part. There's good advice I've gotten, and you still have to do the work and practice and get the experience, but advice will help you get it faster. Is one guy said one thing I liked a lot, that if you're in public or you're in a hotel room and you're being loud, you're worried about this is going to be annoying the people around me. And what he said that made a lot of sense to me is like, okay, that might be 3 or 4 people, and you're just annoying them this bit. How many people are going to see your video? You know, like, there's so many times in life where we trade like annoying a small number of people in order to help millions. When we pay our taxes, like, it sucks for me, but it's going to help everybody to have a road. So yeah, it's a good trade. Like, if you're doing
That's
this and it
fair.
actually legit annoys the people at the restaurant, but it brings a lot of joy and useful information to thousands of people for the next year, like, that's kind of it's a kind trade-off. You'd almost be like more of a jerk to not do it because it was going to be hard for you when it was actually going to help more people than the quiet in the hotel room.
That is really good advice. I like that a lot. Uh, the one other bit of advice that I would think for having your voice in your content, and it helps me for making my content even just off a script into the mic here, is when I was in martial arts and trying to lead and teach classes, it was talking about voice and how you need to be loud but not yelling at kids
Hmm.
is a very important thing. So just speaking loud, clear from your diaphragm, not actually yelling and shouting into the mic, is a very different skill. And it's one that people don't really recognize or talk about too much, I feel like.
Man, you're always full of like such good mirror images of things. I've been thinking a lot about the ability to have a large amount of passion or a lot of sadness or whatever emotion without needing to change your volume level. There's some speaking drills that I train when I have time, and one is like practice saying any topic, but you're randomly supposed to switch between super low energy and super high energy. And the easiest way to get high energy is to go loud. But when you actually are skilled, you shouldn't need to do that anymore. So it should be possible to like really have your full personality, like, yeah, this is what I really love and care about without shaking the whole house.
Well, even beyond that, I can be loud without yelling, so it
Hmm.
will sound loud and clear, but the neighbors won't think like, "Oh, are the neighbors downstairs fighting? What's going on?" It's just more talking loud and clear. Um, Even if I just sit down with a script in front of me, like I can pull one up, I guess. Let me take you back to my 21st birthday. And I can just snap into that voice, and I know the mic's going to pick it up loud and clear. I know I've got that energy behind it. It's still me. It's just a different version of my voice.
Yeah, that sounds good. That night and day, you're right, and it sounded great. So, gonna have to learn how to do that myself.
I need to learn how to do that in public in front of people again.
Yep. No, practice. Keep doing it. That's kind of another reason why it's really great to like, be working on this stuff with you because um, your brain needs to feel that reward afterwards, after you've done this difficult stuff, to feel that reward. And your brain just starts hardwiring like, oh, okay, this is a hard challenge that I get rewarded for. And so you have more like intrinsically just drawn to doing it again. So every time I make something like this, like, you and my other friends look at like, hey, oh, oh, it was nice to see. I'm like, yeah, I actually made something for all that effort and stress, like, dude, yeah.
You do need to have that little reward to help keep you interested and motivated to keep moving forward.
Mm. There is a cost for doing this, and there's even higher cost for the learning stage. Learning is always painful, and yeah, this is one of the more
Yep,
painful parts.
there's there's not really much more you can say about it. Learning hurts, but it's so worth it.
Realize that both things we're talking about today, the having to start connecting with other people, like for mentors and colleagues, and in-person vlogging, they both come down to, conquering the fear of working with people.
So we're just going to call this episode "Growing Pains and Fear."
Hmm. Hmm. All right.
Really, really attractive, sexy title there.
I'll get ChatGPT to massage it for us.
There we go. There we go. ChatGPT, our favorite writer.
Now, so overall, I'm in Helsinki right now, and I've been trying to make, at least some kind of minimal small pot thing about Helsinki every single day, and it's been going pretty well so far. The first day I just talked about um, a couple neat facts that I learned my first day, and when it really came down to it, it was like the skill is learning what the actual smallest pot is. It's actually a lot lower bar than I realized. Popped up my phone, found a spot with an interesting background behind me, and went for a walk. And just like, okay, so here's the stuff that I figured out. Like one, two, and three. Uh, Used a phone editor, CapCut, to trim out the like stuff before and end of it. CapCut had like a caption maker and a music thing. Put that together in about 15 minutes. It's a solid thing that I could put out and then learn from and even get feedback from others instead of I have to spend like an hour editing or doing all this other like I could have easily made that a very difficult project, but I didn't, and I'm glad I did.
Yeah, again, it looked great. I was so excited when I saw that pop up on my feed. And the real funny thing to me was I wasn't even on I was just on Instagram, not even on the homepage scrolling the people I'm subscribed to. I went to the search function to look up something else, and your video popped up as one of the things under the search bar, and I was like, wait, what has he done? What's going on? Oh my god, he's showing up here. This is fantastic.
I ended up getting it posted on Facebook as well, and I got yelled at by some guy I've never even known in my entire life about how I was incorrect. I'm like, yay, I'm getting feedback.
Yep. Hey, those people are very necessary.
Mm. And I did another one. I'm going to keep putting more. I actually have a decent amount of ideas. I just, because like living here is giving me the good experience. Like part of the travel vlog thing is experience a thing, find things that you didn't know or didn't see before, and share that new stuff that people wouldn't know if they hadn't come here. I'm probably going to be recording more of that on Sunday and Monday, but I wanted to run through a little bit on some of the things that I've learned that seem to be helping. Now, this vlogging thing, it's also tied in as the big part of like documenting your experiences while you're going through something very big change, you know? We're talking about the most important things to journal are the ones where like you move to a new country or like a really difficult like thing you're taking on. And that's when you have the least amount of time and you have the most stress. The number one thing I realized is budgeting time. Doing this is going to take additional time for it. And especially in the beginning, it's going to take even more because you're going to be making a lot of mistakes, not so sure what you're doing. And when I sat down and proactively said, okay, today I'm going to do this one tour activity, and then I'm going to leave 3 hours of time to mess around and just try and make things, it turned it from this stressful rush. I'm doing a bad job. Everything's falling apart. And I'm just completely wasting all the time that I spent so much money to be here for into like, huh, I'm doing the thing that I'm supposed to be doing. I'm making the mistakes that I
Yeah, you
want to
are.
make now and move forward. It completely changed the feel of it.
That's great. I'm so excited and happy for you, and I cannot wait to see the next one that comes out.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Next was like the whole voice thing. Like it really feels awkward to do it. And it's kind of the highest value of all of this content is kind of like it's a person. Like like if you are going through something interesting, people want to know what you really feel and eventually kind of connect with you. And if you're unskilled, if you're scared, if you're stressed out, they're not getting the emotion of, I love this statue, take a look at it. They're getting the emotion of, I'm talking to a camera and it scares me. And, you know, that's that's unavoidable, but this is what we have to progress through. I really think this is what's going to make the difference. Like this is another thing, like editing, where at first it sucks and it's painful and you hate it, but after you get good at it, then it becomes enjoyable. Not just you produce more and you produce better stuff. The experience is more enjoyable.
I just had a very strange thought of, well, if we're knowing that the emotion we're going to be going into filming this content with is fear, well, why don't I just go out on like a high bridge or something that if I'm on camera could look scary and be like, hey guys, I'm in this really precarious situation. This is why I'm afraid, not because of the camera. Now let
That
me
is
tell you about
genius.
whiskey.
That is genius,
Just
man.
mask it that way.
Like flat out for this stuff, like with vlogging, there's so many different options you have compared to other styles that you can pick things that would naturally work for when you're a beginner and all right,
That
nailed that one.
I might need to try that out and see if that uses that emotion to my advantage.
Mm. My other consideration was like get drunk and then do it and then like I got I got okay with that. Okay, and I'm gonna be drinking less next time, then kind of like take the training wheels off.
You will be okay on camera. The problem is the camera won't be okay with you. I learned that one.
To a certain extent in the beginning, it shouldn't be about being good or being like building your audience. It's just practice,
Sure.
and you need to get that skill built up first. Another thing I looked into that I realized is there's a lot of location based things. The first vlog I did was in Nashville because I wanted to do that before I left. But like that's the hardest location. That's like my home. That's where my friends are. That's where people know are. It feels 10 times more awkward doing it there. When I was in another country, I'm like, who cares? I can just be the loud, annoying American. It's easier to do it here. So that's a good place to get some training wheels. Like, I'm not saying fly all the way to Finland, but go someplace that's not your hometown. Like, just drive like an hour away and then mess around there.
Tell him to go to Finland. Give me an excuse to go there.
Man, it's so good.
Uh,
And a third thing you can do is in every city, even in your hometown, there are spots that are more, boisterous and touristy. Like if you're trying to do like a documentation on like your local war memorial, that's going to be a hard place to be recording yourself at.
Yeah,
If you go down to like Broadway, the wild like party district where it's filled with people from out of town, that's going to be pretty easy even in the same town.
it's going to be harder to get a clear recording of yourself, but you're not going to feel any pressure about pulling out your cell phone and taking a video.
Exactly. Just keep practicing that stuff. And then when you feel comfortable with that, go to like the next more serious location until you get to the locations that your content should be about. But like anyway, these reps, the more you can get in faster, I think you're going to learn better. So you're right. The audio is going to be trash, but you are going to learn faster than if you just started at the right place and just tried to white knuckle it through it.
I like that a lot.
Okay, next, pre-production, and this will relate to voice. God, I keep coming back to this, that the more time you spend planning before you record your content, like it's 10 to 1 the savings. Like if you spend 10 minutes planning before you go out, you're going to send yourself an hour. I have so much struggle of trying to like edit my clips together, figuring out should I have this one or that one, or should I use all of them, or is it getting too long? Because I didn't plan it out before I went out. Same thing with what I'm going to say. If I just go like, oh, I really wanted to talk about this building, like it's going to be really long and rambly and need a lot of editing. But if I just take a deep breath and spend 60 seconds in my head thinking like, okay, what do I like about this? What do I care about this? And what do I want people to feel about it? That saves like 5 minutes, 10 minutes worth of rambling that I would do later on that would need to be edited. It also makes you feel a lot more confident knowing that you're going to do something good. It makes it easier for your voice to be a lot more calm and invested in it. Like, if you're not certain that you're doing the right thing, how are you supposed to have a certain tone of voice when you're presenting on it?
Absolutely. That certainty is so key, and even just for in-person communication. Like if I was behind the bar and I wasn't certain about, oh yeah, an old fashioned has bourbon in it. No one's gonna buy that. No. But if I say,
Hmm.
yeah, old fashioned has bourbon, call it old fashioned because this is the history of it. Yeah, people aren't
You
gonna
know
question me.
that.
They're gonna go, yeah, okay, he knows what he's talking about. I'll get a drink from him.
Hmm. Being certain it's good for your audience and it's good for you.
Yes, it is. Even if you're wrong, be certain.
The next part related to that is I'm going through this. I am overwhelmed by how many freaking movie clips and photos I have, and it takes a massive amount of time to go through it. I'm trying to budget a little time each day when my feet are tired to like incrementally triage my media instead of having a
Smart.
giant batch that I have to do at the end of the week. Um, but it's definitely something I could improve. Like if I had more skill or had pre-planned better, I would have a lot fewer of these. Like this was planned to be the opening shot, this was planned to be the next, and be the next. But making this mistake is teaching me faster of what I should be doing for the next video or the next trip.
The one tip I have gotten on that before is if you do a take or something where you're like, oh, that felt really good. I really like that one. Just go and favorite that. That way you can go back later and go, all right, I need a clip, even if it's just filler. I got a few ones that I already highlighted that I know I really like.
Yeah, that sounds great. I think there should be ways to organize your stuff on the fly better than what I currently know. Because, like, I was taking the video of the Finnish flag flying in the back of the ship, and it looked great. But I kept on finding a better way to take it over and over.
Ah,
So I'd like, here's my 20th one, because now the sun's setting. I wish I could delete the past 19. There's got to be an easier way to, like, keep this one, mark the other ones as all just not use a duplicate. Anyway, there's got to be an organizational skill, which isn't sexy enough that there's going to be this fun, entertaining YouTube video about it, but there's probably some grindy course or text
oh, I'm
blog that will
sure.
teach you how to do it. Workflow. It's not pretty, but it really does grease the wheels and reduce your friction and make you have better content and learn faster.
Absolutely. That I'm sure is out there somewhere, and if either of us finds it, let's share it with the other because I want to learn it too.
Yeah. The last video you'll just see me posted about the sunset. unloaded everything onto the PC, onto the laptop. I edited everything in Premiere and then all this stuff. I'm like, man, that took so much more time. Lesson learned, but I'm going to try to edit on the phone as much as I can. Um, let's see. And the final thing was HDR, just quick bucket. If you're recording on a phone, it's probably recording in HDR. I'm going to post in the show notes. There are a lot of bad explanations of how to do this, but you can set your export settings that'll say, okay, it's going to make it into this. So if you are watching on an HDR device, it looks amazing. And if you're not on an HDR device, it still looks normal because most everything it was coming out garbage on my computer because I would import it in HDR, edit it in HDR, and then when it tried to export, it was trying to export it into standard, which just made everything look like garbage. Apparently, the Apple hardware cannot encode that. So the default you always want to use is your hardware GPU. This is one time you have to turn that on. You have to turn that off. You have to go into your settings and say, use the software encoding. You're going to be told not to do it, but that is the one most flexible Army knife tool, and it'll let you actually start changing these HDR settings. And that
Interesting.
took me about 2 hours of my life, but now it's done, and I like how it looks so much that I want to keep doing this instead of the common wisdom, which is make your phone stop your phone from recording HDR. Like, no, like this is a nice tool. We can use this.
Absolutely. Use all the tools available to you.
And when it works, it looks beautiful, you know? Like check out that sunset one. It looks way better than it would in the standard definition one.
That was a great video, by the way.
Mm.
Beautifully shot.
Next time I'll be smart enough to use the microphone that you recommended for me and actually not have the wind just whatever, you know.
Made us feel like we were there on a windy day with you.
Yeah, I did. Oh man, I got lucky with the rain. I enjoyed that part. Okay, last sweeping bullet points before we get to our end questions is overarching things of vlogging. I think there's some questions that you should ask yourself. What do you want to get out of this particular vlog? I think everybody should do vlogging just because you learn so much, but the next specific content you create, specifically decide in your head, am I doing this for one? I really want to journal a part of my life, like part of that Matthew Dix. I want to remember more of my life. Have it like when I look back, I want to actually have a larger amount of time that I can reminisce on. That's a huge thing. Is that your goal? Is your goal to try to make something really nice that's interesting to other people to try and grow your audience? Is this trying to grow your audience? That's going to be completely different. You're going to want to pick things that are interesting for other people. It might not be so natural. And if you're trying to like just half-ass both, I think you're going to struggle. I don't think it's going to be that good. But if you pick in your head which you're doing, I think you're going to enjoy the process more and feel like you did it right. And then finally, are you doing this specifically because you want to develop skill? That's a third choice. And if you're going for that, you're going to make completely different choices. And in the beginning, like where you and I are at, Ryan, I think learning is the most important thing. If you think about that, you can make a lot of choices that is going to help you learn. There's a whole lot of extra work you could skip that would make it more pleasing or get your audience better, but you don't need to do that because it's not going to teach you anything. And that's what I'm trying to do this trip, where I'm happy any goodness that comes out, but it doesn't need to because like I'm getting a ton of learning. My next trip, I'll actually start making things that could be a little more relatable and enjoyable.
I really like that, thinking ahead and framing what you're doing now with where you want to go. That makes so much sense. And for me, I want to dive further into the story, the drama, as you said.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of my niche. So how could I interject that into my daily life for a vlog? That is a much more interesting framework rather than, oh, this seems interesting and fun, I'll film this.
Mm.
I like to think that again is going into the pre-production work of how can I make this fit where I want to go.
Mm. And almost what you're describing is sorting out within yourself. Where is it you want to go?
Also very important.
All right. I think this has been a productive chat. That's everything I had.
Absolutely.
Um, let's go on to questions. I'm going to ask you one first.
All right.
So last week, I asked the audience what's their favorite vlog and what they like about it. This week, I want to ask you, Ryan.
Oh goodness. If only I could have seen this coming and actually prepared for it. Saw it coming, still didn't prepare for it. Uh, Favorite vlog. I can tell you that a few years ago I liked watching one that was called like The Life of Tom or something.
Hmm.
He just did like a daily vlog, but he did so much traveling. He's in Europe, so he was going out to like the Middle East. He was going to America. He was traveling within Europe all the time, and it was really cool getting to see. He'd do like travel montages with his phone, where it'd be like a view from the plane, him walking through the airport, and he would just have like a song playing through. And I always thought, oh, that looks so fun. I'd probably glamorized flying quite a bit because that's never a fun, easy flight. But
Hmm.
he made the act of traveling look fun, not just the being there, talking to people, experiencing the new culture look fun.
Adding more beauty into the world.
Absolutely. Again, I don't know how he managed to convince me that airplanes and flying were going to be fun and romanticized when I get motion sick and hate being off the ground. But he was managing to capture that.
Yeah, I'll look that up. That'll be great. This sounds like magic. I like that.
Nowadays, I'd say the closest thing I have to watching a vlog would be this guy's cooking channel, Cowboy Kent Rollin'. And I don't know what I would classify him as. Is teaching recipes kind of education, but then he also tells like the story of how this would be made for the cowboys in the old west, and you got to feed all these hungry ranchers, and it'd be the old cook on his little wagon who'd be making this for 30 guys, and
Mhm.
it tells the story, it tells the drama, it has that emotion to it, but then it's still education of here's how you just make a grilled cheese or something. I don't. It's a lot of like Tex-Mex style food.
It does seem that like you can have so many options what to do with a vlog, or you can weave an education into it as well.
And it's still got parts of his daily life in it as well. It still has like his dogs are a big part, um, and you get a good recipe afterwards. So can't stand it. Always enjoy that.
Interesting. Yeah, I'll take a look at those and we can chat about those later.
All right. Is there any that I mean, you've given me a few that I should look up already, but is there any that others that you'd add to that list for me?
Huh. I've been kind of going through, just the big shot ones, and I'm getting knowledge from analyzing it, but I don't really think it's super applicable to what we're doing. Um, the Ardbeg one we went over, I think that's just the best example, and I'm glad we spent an episode on that.
I am too. That was very good. Um, but I do have a more sincere and interesting question for you, though. So far, your trip to Finland, is it more of a romantic art style journey? Is it more of a baroque?
Hmm.
What is your life naturally pushing you towards right now as a stylistic choice?
Man, good question. Like an answer actually stands out. It feels like a classical period, the time
Classical,
when
I
like
like that.
all of the arts were really put together, but the emotional feeling was kind of peaceful and clean and warm. It
More
wasn't like this,
tranquil.
yeah. Like we were talking before about how like intense like love and passion has this kind of edge of sadness to it. And then like that's kind of Baroque and Romantic period. Like classic period was, yeah, we have love and we have happiness and we have all this stuff, but it's not so intense that it actually starts to hurt. It's like, yeah, this is neat. Um, the city's beautiful. There's so much cool stuff to look at, but more than any city I've ever visited, it has this strong feeling of you don't need to go to an event to have the perfect day to have done it. Like there's no, say it another way, if you don't go out and do anything, there's no regret that your day was wasted. Just so many times, like I'm just going to go walk the greenway and look and see what I find. Or I'm going to stop at the next coffee shop that seems really neat, pop up my laptop and write for half an hour. And everything's, it's not like slovenly or lazy that there's nothing happening, but just this comfortable feeling of wherever you are, whatever you're doing, it's the right thing to do.
The thing that comes to mind for me when I think of classical art is there's a great structure and framework to it, but it almost disappears into the background as things just
Hmm.
seem peaceful, calm, and of course, everything's right where it should be. You don't need to worry about it.
That's why I keep on saying I feel like this would be a great city for writing. Um, I'm actually going to look into trying to return here because I'm putting my extra energy into trying to learn the vlogging stuff. But I really think if that wasn't, I think I'm actually getting way more value in learning out of that than I even appreciate. If I wasn't doing any of this, I was just sitting there writing scripts, I think a massive amount of really good learning and writing would be coming out because it's so conducive to that feeling. There's the exoticness of a new place, but there's none of that FOMO of feeling, well, I got to cram this in and now I'm tired. It's like, yeah, like that's a great idea. I felt when I saw that building.
That's great. I'm so glad that you're finding such great inspiration there, and I'm excited again to see what comes out of it, but I'm even more excited for you to come back, learn from that, and bring that into everything you do in Nashville, and then go back
Mm.
to Finland and get more of that again and keep growing it.
Yeah, that's a good point. There's so much of like you can't really come back to some place until you've left it, and there's so much you learn from the contrast. I have it on my to-do list to really sit down of like, what is it that I get out of living in Nashville? Like I take it for granted where I'm there, but now I'm out here, I can kind of think of what's the part I miss and what's the part that I could try and build somewhere else. Anyway, all that stuff. It's a great question of going back and forth, you know?
Absolutely.
Well, why don't you wrap us up with our question for the audience, Ryan?
So this is less of a question and more of a cry for help. I am putting out the call. I need your help. Shoot me an Instagram message. I am trying to share the story of it's a wonderful story about a black woman during Prohibition who was making moonshine in the frontiers of Montana. I have no experience as a woman or as a person of color, and have never written a story about either of those people, categories of people. So I am very much out of my depth. And to help me find almost like a North Star to guide me and help structure and make sure I have the right emotions in the right spot, I am looking for recommendations for it could either be black authors or I'm thinking producers or directors from good movies. Just I want someone who fits those categories, does
Hmm.
great storytelling. Give me those examples so I can help learn from them and almost dissect those stories.
I would actually ask as well. Those are great signposts to go to. If you know these and you're suggesting to us, what about those like creators do you think like made something matter? Like what were they doing that kind of like hit you like this is really done well? Because if we look at it, we kind of might miss what was it that was magical about what they were doing that was different because, and having that little like thread to start learning from could help us too.
Absolutely. Please, any examples, any names you have, I will be very appreciative.
All right. I like it. This is really interesting stuff. It's been good talk. Learn a lot from this every time. There's so much I wanted to share. And, I so much enjoy like even more from all this work, like having you to talk to about this stuff. This has been a great chat.
Always a pleasure, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your trip, my friend.
Will do. 2 weeks. We're gonna meet up. We have a couple more writing skill topics that we're gonna pick from, but we're gonna discuss more about, improving writing skills and putting that stuff together when I'm back in Nashville.
Perfect. Looking forward to it, my friend.
All right. See y'all. Bye.